Hey there, this is Vinay Raman. I am the CEO of Carmo, and we're doing a LinkedIn Live. This is targeted leaders. A challenge that I've always seen is that getting measurable results from emotional intelligence is a disconnect that people have always had. And this session is about spending some time exploring how can you see that return on investment? How can you get measurable results from emotional intelligence? I'm going to show you how. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Vinay Raman. I am the CEO of Carmo. Our company visualizes emotional intelligence and business intelligence together. So you can kind of see the data in the warm, squishy stuff, the part that makes humans humans, and you can see those together in a way that you can actually make good and better decisions about. You can actually measure it. And I'll show you a little bit of that here moving forward. This is targeted towards leaders. I have been a leader for a long time. I've run lots of companies. I've worked in companies, and I've worked for lots of different leaders. And some of them are really smart with the data. Some of them are really smart and really good at building culture. But what if you could do both? You could build the culture and actually be fantastic at the data. What if you could do both of those things at the same time? And that's what I'm going to show you a little bit about here, is how to do that. So if you're a leader, if you have a team of 2 or 3 people, or if you have a team of thousands of people that are somewhere in the org structure below you, this is relevant to you. So let me tell you a little bit about Carmo. The fact is that emotional intelligence is part of what we all do as humans. We all have different scales and levels of expertise. But then there's this data side of things. We've got data, we've got facts, we've got numbers, and we try to make decisions based on that. We try to make decisions based on these 2 things. But how do we integrate those 2 things together? And that's what our company, Carmo, has done, is brought all of those things together. I'd love to tune the message of what we do here. So if anybody's listening in, I'd love to see where you're connecting in from. So tell me where you're connecting from and what your role is, so that I can actually tailor the message a little bit more and make sure that we properly support you in your role as a leader. So I'd ask one more thing, and that is if you're connecting live or you're watching this live, give me a light bulb in the comment section. That'll help me know that you're live. If you're coming in afterwards at a replay, hit the heart button so that I know that you're watching from a replay. Great. Let's go ahead and get started. And to make sure that anybody who's joining in, we're going to walk through how you get measurable results from emotional intelligence. All right, so here's my promise to you. In the next 90 seconds, I'm going to lay out for you what's happening with a particular person in a particular area to show you how you can see this emotional intelligence and actually this business intelligence together. So if you look at this graph here, we're looking at a particular person named Brad. The average person in this role has got a 49 out of 100. 100 is very, very effective, like the A+ on the test. 49 means it's kind of right in the middle for the average person. But you can see Brad has got a 61. That means they're doing better than average. So what can you tell from that? You can tell a limited amount just from a scorecard. But this is where we go a little bit deeper, where you can see the emotional side and the business side together. So if we start to take a look at this graph here, you'll start to see this blue area. This blue area represents Brad. You can see in areas like efficiency and skills assessment and NPS, his net promoter score, he's actually doing significantly better than average, because that's the gray. So I want to stop here. It's been about 90 seconds. If you're looking at this, do you already get a sense for how Brad is doing compared to the average person in the role? If you're watching now, I would love to hear what you see. Can you already tell before I kind of read it for you? Is Brad doing better than average or worse than average? And if you do see, why? Where is Brad better? All right, I'll give you a couple moments here to type something in the comments. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to walk through this. Tell me also one more thing. As you're reading through this, this is all based on real data, right? How can you look at this and get a sense for what Brad is? You've got a lot of information. Now you kind of get this gut feel, don't you, as to what's happening. So let me read this to you and show you how the process by which I go through this. You can see a driver behavior. That's how they drive the vehicle. They're about average in terms of how they drive that vehicle. This role requires them to drive a vehicle. Now, many roles don't. Some roles do. It doesn't matter what the KPIs, the metrics, or the key performance indicators are. We can do this for any type of role because it's all about human behavior. Here in efficiency, you can see efficiency for Brad is really high above the average. Employee experience, Brad's doing a little bit better, better than the average. The net promoter score, what scores and customer satisfaction ratings they're getting from their customers, above average. The priority alignment, how they're aligned with their boss, better than average. Skills assessment, Brad rates themselves relatively high compared to the average. Tech referring, they're selling more jobs in than the average person, and their driver behavior, again, is right on average. Does this give you a better characterization of who Brad is and how Brad's doing? Here's the idea. This could be 17,000 rows of data with 35 columns. I know I've spent lots of time looking at spreadsheets trying to understand people. But when we synthesize all that together and visualize it here, can you tell how good Brad is at his role just by looking at this? Snap of your fingers. The idea is you can take a look at the last year of performance for Brad and start to understand where Brad needs help and where he doesn't. Let's go take a look at somebody else and see how that shows up. We saw Brad. Let's go take a look at Eric, someone we've got lots of data on. Amador. You start to see a different story that starts to play out for Amador as opposed to Brad in terms of how they're doing. You can see Amador is struggling a little bit more in his role than Brad is. Now, a question for you. By looking at this, do you know where to support Brad and do you know where to support Amador? Are they exactly the same conversation? This is all based on objective data. We've used driver behavior, which comes from collected directly from the vehicles, efficiency, which comes from their work order management systems or project management systems, service management systems, tech referrals, which come from CRM systems, lots of different systems, including assessments that have been used, employee experience, assessments for customer service, priority alignment, assessment of how aligned they are with their direct supervisor, and their self-assessment on skills. What do you think? Now that you see this, can you see how you would support Amador, the type of conversation that you would have with Amador versus Brad? I'm curious. I'd love to see what you found and if this was useful going through this in the results for both of these individuals. Well, thanks. Feel free to type in what you saw, what insights you may have gotten from this, and was this useful? Finally, tell me where you're connecting from and what your role is. So next time we can spend a little more time diving into specific roles as leaders and how you might be able to use this information to your benefit. Feel free to leave a comment, likes, forward it on and reshare with others, or just click the follow button if you want to get more of these videos.